Thank you, Wendell. Good evening, viewers, and welcome to tonight's regional news. We begin tonight's regional news by looking at a report recently conducted by the United Nations Sexual and Reproductive Health Agency. Some 12 million women may have lost access to contraception due to the pandemic health disruptions, the United Nations Sexual and Reproductive Health Agency said Thursday, warning that the poorest and most vulnerable were the hardest hit. UNFPA, based on 115 low and middle income countries, found that a loss of family planning services for around 3 months had likely led to 1.4 million unintended pregnancies. UNFPA Executive Director Natalia Kanem said that COVID has wrought havoc on the women and girls of the world, but the poorest and most vulnerable now are seeing the most dire consequences. She said data suggested, and I quote, that in wealthier countries, fewer babies are being born, whereas in developing countries, more babies, lack of access to contraceptive services, end of quote. Kanem said these needs need to be prioritized. It's not just nice to have this. This is a fundamental part of human dignity. She said harmful practices have also increased with the pandemic, including the risk of child miscarriage, which had skyrocketed. This week, the UN Children's Organization UNICEF warned that the effects of the coronavirus pandemic could lead to an additional 10 million child miscarriages this decade. And now for some more news. Juan Hernandez denies U.S. claims that he was paid a $25,000 bribe by alleged drug trafficker Giovanni Fuentes. Honduran President Juan Hernandez has denied allegations made by a U.S. prosecutor that he helped smuggle tons of cocaine into the United States. New York prosecutor Jacob Gottwilling said during the trial of alleged Honduran drug trafficker Giovanni Fuentes in federal court on Tuesday that Fuentes had paid Hernandez a $25,000 bribe. Hernandez, a lawyer who came to power in January 2014 and is in his second term, has styled himself as a champion in the fight against drugs. U.S. prosecutors consider him a co-conspirator alongside Fuentes, but have not charged him. Rivera faces a life sentence plus 30 years in prison, but hopes it will be reduced in exchange for his testimony. And now for news from Trinidad and Tobago. A woman who went to Manzilla Beach with a church group is believed to have drowned on Thursday. She was identified as 35-year-old Tamika Harris. A police report stated that Harris was among a group of members of Faith Healing Spiritual Baptist Church when she insisted on going into the water at spring at 4:16 a.m. Harris, a laborer of La Horquenta, left the group and began turning towards the water. She removed her clothing and went into the water, as police were told. Police said the group lost sight of her. Half an hour later, police said Harris was seen floating near the shore. She was pulled from the water and members performed cardiopulmonary resuscitation, CPR, but there was no response. She was pronounced dead and her body removed to the Forensic Science Center. Investigations are ongoing. And finally, on the international scene, Prince William insisted Thursday that his family is not racist, as he became the first member of Britain's royal family to speak out about accusations of bigotry made by Prince Harry and Meghan, his brother and sister-in-law. William made the comments in response to questions shouted at him by reporters during a visit at an East London school. While members of the royal family often ignore such queries, William used the opportunity to address the explosive allegations that have rocked the monarchy. Buckingham Palace is struggling to quiet criticism after Harry and Meghan allege that the Duchess was the victim of racism and callous treatment during her time as a working member of the royal family. The palace tried to respond to the charges made during an interview with U.S. TV host Oprah Winfrey with a 6-to-1 word statement that critics called, I quote, too late, end of quote. William, second in line to the throne after his father, Prince Charles, said Thursday he hadn't yet spoken to Harry since the interview, but will do so. Harry and Meghan walked away from royal duties last year and moved to California, saying they wanted to escape the intrusive British media and live a normal life. Meghan, who is biracial, said in the interview that she was so isolated and miserable as a working member of the royal family that she had suicidal thoughts. She also said Harry told her that a member of the royal family had expressed, I quote, concerns, end of quote, about the color of her baby's skin before the birth of their son Archie. And that is all for your regional news. Thank you for joining. Back to you, Wendell.